Hi everyone! Welcome to day 6 of How to Grow Your Business. Thanks for joining me again. Today we'll be talking about growth through new products or services. Entrepreneurs create. You're probably constantly coming up with new ideas to grow your business. Some of them might be great ideas and others not so much. Developing new products or services is an important activity for all entrepreneurs. While this can be a risky strategy, staying complacent can be risky as well. Developing new products or services can help you better serve your existing customers, and it can also help you reach new customers. It's also the most useful strategy for breaking through a plateau. Let's take a look at how to approach growth through new products and services.
Just about every successful entrepreneur we meet understands the importance of developing new products or services. For many entrepreneurs, growing a business that way can be a scary thought. This is because markets are unpredictable, even if we do our due diligence. That means you may need to try a few times before you find success with something new. While this strategy involves risk, we know that nothing in life stays constant, and that's true of a business. Launching a new product or service can allow you to reach more market segments, increase revenues, diversify revenues, and ultimately help you grow your business. Our goal today is to share with you a simple process you can use to evaluate any potential growth opportunity. While we're going to walk you through the steps of the process today, it's important to acknowledge that the actual time spent on the opportunity evaluation process can vary greatly. A lot depends on the scale of the opportunity and the level of investment that would be required. When you use the process we're about to share with you, each idea you evaluate will ultimately fall into one of 3 possible categories. The first is let's do it. This is an idea that you decide to pursue. You may not jump in with both feet right away, but at a minimum, you're going to look for an opportunity to test the idea. Then there's interesting idea, but not now. This is an idea that you feel has potential, but for any number of reasons, the timing is not right. And lastly, there's interesting idea. The hard reality is that sometimes an idea is just that, interesting and nothing more. Ultimately, just not worth pursuing. So how do we go about categorizing those ideas? When we work with our clients, we share 5 considerations that they should take into account to help them evaluate potential growth opportunities. The first is to check for alignment with entrepreneurial vision. Then we look at the scale of the opportunity. Sometimes this will help us understand if it's worth pursuing. Next is looking at the competition. Is someone already offering this, and if so, who? We also need to assess whether the idea is feasible. In other words, do you have the resources to undertake the opportunity? And lastly, we look at level of risk. On day 1, I asked you what you hope to achieve with your business. Every action you take to grow your business must align with that vision. This may seem evident, but it's not uncommon to find entrepreneurs chasing opportunities for growth that don't line up with their vision. Stay in business long enough, and someone will offer you a chance to make money, which might help you in the short term, but isn't going to get you any closer to your goals. In most communities, you can find at least one serial entrepreneur. This is a person that is constantly starting different businesses, but never seems to hit it big with any of them, and in fact, often loses interest fairly early in the process. If you want to avoid this pitfall, don't skip this step. Ask yourself 2 key questions. Does this opportunity align with my core values? And if I go ahead and do this, will it help me get what I ultimately want for my business? The next thing you want to assess is the size of the opportunity. You need to be able to answer 3 key questions. Size matters, so you need to know how big the opportunity is. You also want to know if the market is growing. Unless you have a huge competitive advantage, you don't want to focus resources on targeting markets that are saturated or shrinking. Now, this doesn't mean that it never makes sense to pursue smaller opportunities. You just have to make sure that the risk-reward ratio makes sense. You also need to determine if there is a demand for what you intend on offering. This brings us to the third consideration, competition. You'll want to find out whether this product or service is already being offered, and if so, who is offering it. How are they marketing it, and what's their value proposition? Think about how your product or service is different, and how you will communicate its value to the market. Competition in itself is not inherently bad, as long as you have credible reason to believe that you can differentiate your product. Now it's time to think about feasibility. It's always important to play to your strengths. You need to ask if the potential opportunity will leverage those strengths. For example, risk is significantly reduced if your idea is focused on markets you know well. You also need to think about organizational and financial capacity. When presented with a significant growth opportunity, like a chance to make a huge sale to a new customer, it's easy to lose sight of the potential impact on existing customers. Ask yourself if you have or can build the organizational capacity needed to pursue your idea. Additionally, how much money will you need to invest to pursue this opportunity? And what about timing? Results may not be immediate. How long will you have to wait before you get a return on your investment? And lastly, if additional capital is required, do you have access to the funds? Everything we've talked about today is designed to make sure that you can make an informed decision. Next, you need to think about what actions you could take to reduce your risk. For example, if you have an idea for a new product, go out and talk to your potential customer. Maybe they'd be willing to commit to pre-order. You could also ask yourself what individuals or organizations might have a strong motivation to partner. If you have a great idea, there should be others out there that want to come along for the ride. It's not always possible, but another way to reduce risk is to build a prototype, something you could show a potential client. And lastly, you need to look at your tolerance to risk. Anything new we do in business has some degree of risk, but every entrepreneur looks at risk through his or her own filter. What might seem like a minimal degree of risk to one entrepreneur might be seen as a huge gamble to another. So it's important for you to be aware of how far you're willing to go outside of your comfort zone. You have to ask yourself, what is the worst possible thing that could happen if I pursue this idea? And then decide if you can live with that happening. It's important at this stage not to be afraid of failure. Success often comes from learning from unsuccessful ventures. Today's homework assignment is fairly straightforward. Use the 5 considerations we outlined in this video to evaluate at least one idea for a new product or service. That's it for today. As always, for more tools and resources, check out our website, stratigro.ca. And if you'd like to join our community, like us on Facebook. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you tomorrow for our final session together. Looking forward to seeing you again.